Transcripts and recordings of the podcast may not be used for any purpose without the direct written permission of the podcast owner. Welcome to LITE It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of LITE It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. I am so excited about this week's episode because I missed last week. I was away, so we skipped a week. I had intentions to record and release later on during the week, but time did not permit itself. And here we are, a week later. Sorry that I missed out last week, but I was traveling. I was on what I would probably call an adventurous road trip to Greensboro, North Carolina, all the way from the south suburbs of Chicago. I, along with one of my dearest friends, god sister Evita, we drove to Greensboro, North Carolina, so that I could drop off my son and daughter's car. And when I tell you that was an interesting time, first of all, I compete with myself when it comes to road trips. I like to challenge myself to see whether or not I can make that road trip Evita offered, but I decided that I wanted to drive all the way. Um, Full transparency, we were supposed to have another person to go with us, someone that I've known for years. I knew it was very important to both my mother and my brother that had a man to travel with us, but not sure what happened to that person, but they didn't show up. They didn't respond to my call, my text message. They committed to attending or to riding down with us and just has been missing in action. I hope they're okay. I've reached out, but that is, I'll just say this, one reason. I'm not trying to throw shade, but um, for people to understand how I operate and the way I do things, my word is my bond. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I can no longer keep the commitment that I've made, I reach out and I communicate. And I typically expect the same in return. And, I know we shouldn't expect ourselves from other people, but it's just common courtesy, I believe, to at least communicate. So I was very disappointed, but that was not going to stop me from accomplishing the goal that I had, which was to get that car down to Greensboro, North Carolina, especially after having experienced uh, hiring a transportation company to ship the car, and that didn't pan out during the month of January. So I was just really anxious to get this done, get it done myself. And of course, mission accomplished. Was successfully able to get to Greensboro. There were a few um, interesting sights along the way. Unfortunately, we did um, There was we had some inclement weather. There was, to us Chicagoans, the snow wasn't that bad, but when you're traveling south, you know, some states don't have the appropriate infrastructure in place, but there were turned over vehicles on the expressway, 18-wheeler trucks that crashed, miles and miles and miles of just gridlock, where folks could not get off the expressway, those people who were headed north. So very unfortunate experience. Heart definitely goes out to those who experienced any injuries or um, in those accidents. Um, and then when we got to North Carolina, as soon as we crossed over to the state line, traffic came to a screeching halt all of a sudden. And now I will admit, initially, I said I thought it was a cow on the highway, but it was a bull on the highway. Um, if I didn't have video footage, I'm sure you all would not believe me, but there was a bull on the highway. Was not going to let that stop me either. Evita wanted me to do like the other drivers and try and block the bull in, and I didn't have time for that. I was trying to make it to my destination in a certain amount of time. Nevertheless, trip was successful and we were able to fly back to Chicago a few days later. But while I was down in Greensboro, I had an opportunity to do something that I've been um, anxious to do, but didn't have enough time to do, which was to visit the International Civil Rights Museum down in Greensboro. And if you've not visited that museum, it's definitely a must see. For those who may have traveled and visited the African American Museum in Washington, D.C., there is an exhibit where there's the lunch counter from the Woolworths store located in Greensboro, where the civil rights movement, in terms of integration and being able to um, sit inside of a restaurant to eat. That took place in Greensboro, North Carolina, with what we call the Aggie Four, four um, individuals who attended the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University were a part of that sit-in with their refusal to leave the lunch counter after having purchased items from the Woolworths store. And so their premise, it was planned out, but they stood on the fact that their money was good enough to spend to purchase merchandise, then surely their money is good enough to spend to sit down and eat and have a meal, and they should not have to be subjected to um, getting their food to go. But that was there's also other exhibits as well, but we had an opportunity to go there, and I'm so glad that I made the time to do so, because normally when I travel to North Carolina, it's always for a specific reason, and I'm usually in and out. And this trip was different, which leads me to today's topic. Um, and it's really focused on setting boundaries, specifically for Black women. You know, week after week, I talk to you all about balance, work life balance, and trying to create some sense of balance in our life. And oftentimes when I am talking about these topics, it is so that I can also hear and take in what I'm saying. So these topics are not just for you all, it's for me too, because I recognize that I need to do a better job with creating boundaries, implementing work-life balance. And of course, I pride myself in being hardworking, dedicated, committed, but I also recognize and have sense enough to know that if I don't have balance and if I'm just consumed as this workaholic, my entire life is going to pass me by. Um, but if you are a Black woman who is watching or listening to this podcast, you know as well as I do how challenging it can be to feel comfortable with setting boundaries. Well, I did something last week that I had not done. I can't remember the last time I've done this, but usually when I'm off work and I tell whether it's my staff or my colleagues that I'm going to be out for a few days, because I'm somewhat of an open book, but I will still receive phone calls, text messages, emails about something that is work related. And I was talking to my counselor one day and I kind of expressed my frustration. And she said to me, Aginah, well, when people reach out to you, if they call you or if they text you or if they send you an email while you're off work, do you respond? And my answer was yes. Well, first of all, if they're emailing me and I have my out of office message on, I really shouldn't know that I'm receiving an email because I shouldn't be checking my email. That's number one. As far as the phone calls or the text messages are concerned, there is a decline option on the phone. I don't have to answer, I don't have to respond. So my counselor challenged me to create or set the boundaries, um, but to also teach people how to treat me because I clearly have been sending mixed messages if people know that I'm off work and they're still calling or texting about work. So here's what I did, folks. Um, Initially, I was going to take my work laptop with me, and I decided at the last minute to leave it because I don't have my work laptop. I can't check it. It'll be easy to check it from my phone, but I'd have to go through a few changes in terms of accessing my email. So I left my work laptop at home. Um, I did not check my email at all. I was out of the office technically from Monday through Wednesday. On Wednesday, the day before I was scheduled to go back to work on Thursday, I still did not check my email. And when I came into work on Thursday, it just it felt good. It felt good the time while I was off because I wasn't stressing about work or stressing about when I get back to work. Um, I have to do XYZ. I didn't know what I was coming back to, but it was okay. The university was still intact because they were going to operate with or without me anyway. My team still intact. They were able to make the decisions that they needed to make. Um, and so I just wanted to share that oftentimes we, as Black women in particular, you know, we are, because we're always expected to be available, strong, self-sacrificing, right? We have to work twice as hard, be twice as good, probably 10 times as good as others. But we deal with more than just the work responsibilities. You know, our day isn't just going to work and fulfilling our work responsibilities. We, aren't necessarily like most people where we are taking a break and we'll have lunch and then head home at the end of the day. No, for Black women, it's a much different experience. Um, we're often faced with challenges that will take a toll on our well-being. We carry stress like none other. We deal with microaggressions in the workplace, um, whether it's racial, gender based. Um, and sometimes we feel like, or are made to feel like, we don't measure up to our colleagues, that we have to constantly overachieve to be seen, heard, or simply to maintain our employment. And that is not the way to live your life day after day when you're in the workplace. So even when you're dealing with all of that, which clearly causes an extreme amount of stress and trauma from the workplace. Then we have to deal with family matters, taking care of families, being available and on call, it seems like, to our children, our significant others, etc. And so it's really um, a struggle when you think about it. Um, and then when you try to set boundaries, then I think we are often concerned about what the outcome will be by setting boundaries. Will that cause any type of, um, I guess, turmoil or strife in the workplace? And I will just say that I'm encouraging you all to set the boundaries. We don't always have to be strong and resilient in certain, instances. It's okay to get rid of that superwoman cape and remove that S from your chest. People will survive. Everything will be okay. Um, take care of you, and you will feel so much better. Um, when I returned to work last Thursday, even when I facilitated several meetings and I had people say to me, "Well, I sent you an email." My response was, "Well, I hadn't checked my emails yet. Today is my first day back in the office. I've been in meetings all day, but I'll get to your email." But I didn't feel guilty about it either. And I think for a very long time, I used to feel guilty about not being responsive. But you teach people how to treat you. And when you implement boundaries and stick to those boundaries that you've implemented, I think what you will find is that people will um, will respect you more. It's an opportunity to foster mutual respect and just better interaction with your colleagues or, the people that you report to in the workplace. So it's okay to say no. It's okay to set boundaries. And you have to be okay with being okay with saying no. No is a complete sentence. And that is what I wanted to share with you all today. I'm still, I think, um, on cloud nine because I um, I had to really reflect on just I um, how I've been feeling just with everything that I've been dealing with and all of the requests and the demands that have been made. But now I am so very comfortable with setting those much needed boundaries so that I can be here for years to come for the people who need me most, which are my children, my mom, my brother, my nieces, my nephews. My family is very, very important to me. And I want to be able to age gracefully, as they say, and not be stressed out by things that are beyond my control or be stressed out by a job. Um, it's time out for that in 2024. And so I think when we learn how to set boundaries, we'll be able to find peace and be at peace with ourselves and those around us. Because when you don't set boundaries, that's when you um, have the highest level of anxiety and stress and can be essentially burnt out, become burnt out and tapped out. And for Black women, particularly those in my age group, mid to late 40s, we really have to do better with taking care of ourselves, health wise, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So I'm encouraging you out there, set those boundaries and be at peace. So that is my message to you for this week. I hope that you found something that I shared today to resonate with you and help you on your pursuit of setting boundaries and finding peace and work-life balance. Make sure you tune in next week. Next week is brand new month. March, there's a lot going on. It's the start of Women's History Month, and I think I've got some pretty neat guests lined up for you all in honor of Women's History Month. And I'll also share, and I'll probably talk about this a little bit more in April, but some really exciting things have happened with me. For starters, I've been selected as a member of cohort 6 for the Chicago Foundation for Women, Willie's Warriors Leadership Institute. So I'm really, really, really excited about that. Um, it's a 6-month program where I get to be around other Black women who are just doing a phenomenal job in their respective fields. And it's professional development, and it gives me an opportunity to connect with other women, learn from other women. So I'm really looking forward to that. We had our meet and greet celebration. I think it was February 15th. And so we will start with our kickoff in a few days, in a couple of weeks in March. So I'm really excited about that. And there are a couple of women that I knew outside of this. So it was really good to be able to be with some dynamic women who I know are doing an excellent job in their respective fields. And then I was selected as one of the Chicago Defenders Women of Excellence honorees. And that ceremony, the induction ceremony, will be held on Friday, March 22nd. So I'm very, very excited about that. I'll have my family here, my children will be here to attend that induction ceremony, friends and colleagues. I'm really excited about that as well. It is such a great honor to be recognized for the work that I've done professionally and both in the community. So exciting things are happening, and I just want to be here to enjoy all of the fruit of my labor. I feel eternally blessed and filled with gratitude that this year seems to be starting off on the right note. And so, again, I just want to make sure that I'm able to fully enjoy um, all of the fruit of my labor in the continued work that I will do. So make sure you tune in next week to see who my guest is on Light It Up, and share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. So until next time, remember to continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.liteiituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle at LITE It Up Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.